All right, today in writing, we're going to think about something a little bit different. We learned at the beginning of this year that writing is just telling a story on paper. And there are so many good stories that we have read this year. And we've read some stories like Big Mama. Remember Big Mamas, where Donald Cruz told how he would go to his grandmother's in the summer. They would spend the summer there. You remember that story? And we just felt like we were there because he described it so well because it was something that really happened to him. Or Shortcut. Remember how they were taking the shortcut and that train was coming and they learned they really shouldn't have taken that shortcut. And again, it seemed so real because it was something that happened in his life and he was telling that. And we've been writing those kind of stories where you've been telling about something that really happened to you in your life. But another kind of story that's really fun is a story that may kind of be like something that could happen in somebody's life, but it doesn't really happen. That's a fiction story. I want to read you a story first, and then we'll get some ideas from reading this story. I'm going to read you today, Froggy Plays T-Ball. Ooh, have any of you ever played T-Ball? But a lot of you have, yeah. Froggy Plays T-Ball. Froggy stories are so funny. Froggy stepped up to bat. He wound up and swung. Whack! The ball sailed up, up, up and out of the park. Home run! Shouted Froggy. He yelled so loud that he woke himself up. He was just dreaming, wasn't he? He hopped out of bed and he flopped into the kitchen. Flop, flop, flop. "Let's go, Dad," said Froggy. "Today's my first day of T-ball." "I know," said Dad. "I'm the coach." "Oops," said Froggy. "I know that." His dad's his coach. Some of you probably had your dad be your coach before too, I bet. Then he flopped back to his room to get dressed. Flop, flop, flop. Zap, zeep, zoom, zoop, zut, zat. Back in the kitchen, he ate his bowl of cereal and flies. Ooh, but frogs like flies. "Now, Froggy," said his dad, "remember when you hit the ball, run the bases in the right order." Well, of course, we have to go in the right order, don't we? "First, run to first. Second, run to second. Third, run to third, and then run home." "I know," said Froggy. And together they leapfrogged all the way to the baseball field, singing, "First, run to first. Second, run to second. Third, run to third, and then run home." At the baseball field, the assistant T-ball coach, Max's mother, said, "Okay, team, who are we?" "The Giants," shouted the team. "Go, Giants!" "Let's play ball," she yelled. "Froggy, you're up first." "Go, Froggy," hollered Mom. "Go, Froggy," hollered Frogalina. "Froggy," hollered Pollywogalina. Froggy took his first swing. Swish! He missed. Then swish, swish, swish. And on his last swing, the bat flew out of his hands, and it smacked Max in the head. Bonk! Good thing he was wearing a helmet. "Okay, Froggy, good try," said Max's mom. "Next up, Max." Well, when Max came to bat, he hit the ball. Whack! Ooh, look, he's got a good hit. And he got on base, and so did Matthew and Travis, Frogalina, and Big Red. Whack, whack, whack. Look at all these guys getting on base. The inning was so long that Froggy's mom took Polly home for a nap. Little Pollywogalina. "Froggy!" yelled the coach. "What?" "Get out there and catch some flies." Look what Froggy's thinking. "Okay," shouted Froggy. So he grabbed his glove and he flopped out to the right field. Flop, flop, flop. And he shagged some high flies that were buzzing around. Zap, zap, zap. "Yum," said Froggy. "This is fun." "Froggy!" yelled the coach. "What?" Boink! A fly ball smacked him on the nose. "Pick up the ball, Froggy," yelled the coach. But Froggy was holding his nose. "Throw it, Froggy, throw it," screamed the giants. Do you know what he was supposed to be catching when he was catching flies? Yeah, the fly balls, right? But he was catching flies to eat, and then he didn't pay attention. He got hit in the nose, and now they're telling him, throw it, throw it. By the time he threw it, the Dodgers had scored 4 runs, and that was the end of the inning. So Froggy's dad said, "Oh, Froggy, next time someone hits the ball, please run for it and throw it fast." "Okay, Coach," said Froggy. When it was Froggy's next turn to bat, he swung, zwap, and the ball just dribbled off the tee. He ran for it, and he threw it fast to first. "Out!" cried the ref at first base. "Oops," said Froggy. "I threw myself out." He's not supposed to throw the ball, is he, when he's the one batting? But he still had one more chance. It was the last inning. 2 outs, and the bases were loaded. Froggy stepped up to bat, and he swung, swish, and he swung again, swish. And then on the 3rd swing, whack! The ball sailed up, 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 and out of the park, and the crowd went crazy. Froggy skipped around the bases singing, "First run to first, second run to second, third run to third, and then run home." Look at Froggy. He's going all around the bases. And then off the field he ran toward his home. "Froggy!" yelled Frogolina. "What? Not your home, silly. Home plate." "Oops," cried Froggy, looking more red in the face than green. He ran back and he stomped on home plate and shouted, "Home run, home run!" And when he finally got home, he hollered, "I hit a homer! I hit a homer!" "No bunga!" squealed Polly Wogalina. "That's great, Froggy," said Mom. "I thought that game would never end." And she gave him a hot dog with fly relish. Munch, crunch, munch. Did you notice that this story was about something that could really happen? We could all play t-ball. We could be out in the field and get bonked on the nose. We can run the bases. All those things can happen, but this is Froggy. Is he real? No, he's not. He's a make-believe character. Frogs don't really wear clothes and do those things, do they? So we're going to think today about having a story about a character that's not real. It's a make-believe story, a fiction story. And I want you to think about how there needs to be a character in a story. So let's look at some ideas for characters. Characters are everywhere. Let's look at some different things that could be a character. Look, I see animals, an animal like Froggy. People. You can have a person in the story who's not a real person, but you write a story about them. A thing. Look at that alien. A story could be about an alien. Community helpers, like the firemen there. Dragons. Knights. Fairies. Prince or a princess. A superhero. There's all sorts of things that could be a character for a story. Now, another really cool thing when we're writing a fiction story is we also get to choose the setting. And I mean, the setting could be anywhere, but we want to make sure that our character and our setting match. Because if I'm writing about a firefighter, he's not really going to be on Mars, but he might be at the scene of a fire, or he might be at his firehouse. But if I'm writing about an alien, is he going to be in the firehouse? No, he's probably going to be on Mars. So I can make my story be anywhere. We can have settings that are at a farm, settings that are in space, settings that are in a store, settings that are in a park. Setting can be anywhere, but our setting and our characters need to make sense where they're going to be. Here's some ideas that you could use for a setting of a story. It could be in the woods, in a city, at a school, in a kingdom, on the moon, at the beach, in outer space, on a farm, on a ship. But let's think about, if I was going to write my story about a knight and a dragon, which one of these would I choose? I'd probably choose the kingdom, that's right. If I was going to write about a pig I'd probably make my story at a farm, just like Piggy Pie. Now, the next thing I need to think about in my story is I'm thinking about who my character is. I need to think about what my setting is going to be. And now I need to think about what my problem is going to be, because a story usually has a problem that needs to be solved. Like in our Froggy story, Froggy's problem was he didn't understand about catching the flies, and he didn't understand about running to home base, not running home. It was his problem to be solved. Also, he was just funny, and it was a funny story. So stories that are fiction stories sometimes have a little bit of a problem to solve. They also can be funny. Let me show you some different ideas that you might think about for your fiction story. You might just want to make a funny story. Like, look at this dog. He is digging, and look at his thought bubble. He says, he will never find his underwear. He's hiding somebody's underwear in the yard. That's just a funny event. Your story might just be something funny that's happening. Look at this. A story could also be a quest, something that you're trying to accomplish, something you're trying to do. Look at this knight. Look at his speech bubble. He says, I'm going to train this dragon. So that is what he wants to accomplish, what he wants to get done in his story. Your story could be about good versus evil. There could be a character who has to overcome someone evil. That happens in a lot of our stories. A lot of the stories and movies you guys watch have someone good trying to overcome something evil. That's another way you could write your story. Your story can also be just a happily ever after story, that your story tells about something that happens, and in the end, they all live happily ever after. Okay, now it's the fun time. It's the time that you get to think about a story that you want to write. And I want you to remember back our story hand that we've talked about before. We used our hand to help us remember that we needed to know who the characters are, we need to know what the setting is, and we need to have 1, 2, 3 events that happen in our story. So you get to decide, who's your character going to be? Is it going to be an alien? Is it going to be a princess? Now, this is a new story. So this is not going to be something from a movie that you've watched. It's not going to be a book you've read. This is going to be a brand new story. You think of something brand new. You think of your own character. You could have a crazy cat that does something funny, like how Froggy does funny things. You could have a princess that you create. It won't be Cinderella. It won't be Snow White. It won't be Belle, but it'll be a new princess that you create and you have something happen for. You might have an evil villain, but it won't be an evil villain from a story that you already know. You might have a superhero, but it won't be Spider-Man and it won't be the Hulk. You're going to think of new characters. So you think of who your story you want it to be about, and I have for you the picture on here to help you remind you of some ideas for characters if you've forgotten those. Think about where your story is going to happen. What's the setting? The characters, the setting, and then we're going to have 1, 2, 3 things that happen. So you're going to start that story today. You won't finish it all in one day. Oh no, we want to have lots of pages telling what happens, and we start and then we tell what happens next and what happens after that, because maybe we're trying to solve a problem. Maybe we're going on a quest. Maybe we've got something to overcome the evil. So we can't all do that in whole one page, can we? So you're going to start your new story today, think up your character, think up the place, and really the beginning of your story, you're just going to kind of introduce us to them, tell us who and what on the first pages there, and get your new story started.